Hello, and welcome back to what looks like a normal format of the Circus of Safety. Episode season 2, episode 18. First and foremost, Des, mate, how you been? How things going? How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, and I've spent the last couple of weeks speaking to a professional public speaking coach,
Wow, wow.
and with the aim of not of expanding vocabulary or being more engaging, but just giving more than one word answers.
Well, and like, listen, I don't want to jinx this, mate. I really don't want to jinx this, but I just want to say, well done. It sounds like you're doing really well at the moment.
It's good.
Okay, love it, mate. Not everyone loves your humour, but I do. Just so that we're aware of that. Now, do we still call him our international co-host? Our international
I think so.
co-host, dialing in from where, Andy? Where are you dialing in from today, mate?
A place called Dis in Norfolk.
Wow. And still over in the UK. How's the weather and life over there, mate?
Cold and wet.
Wow.
Reminded me very much of why I left this beautiful land.
Yeah, what a challenge, right? What a challenge. But hey, mate, listen, I'm really glad we could line this up and you could join us in today. Listen, while our special co-host last show was fantastic, it's great to have the band back, and long may that last, I guess, to some extent. Now, Des, I've heard you've had a bit of a change in career, mate.
I know. I seem to be all over LinkedIn doing talks for people. So I've got a couple coming up
You
in
do, you
October.
do.
Yeah.
And I mean, the first one, I mean, do you want to tell us a bit about that? Who's that for?
There's one for the NZISM Otago branch CPD day that they've put together.
Nice.
That'll be a remote
Thanks
one
to
that I've
good
dialed into.
long-term friend of the show, Matthew Sadgrove.
And the other one is for Sign On Site. It's a webinar about talking about compliance on a construction site.
Great mention. Again, thank you to Silent Sight for sponsoring my IT equipment. This is really awkward, Des, because we've just come up here with Matthew Sadgrove saying, boom, I know talent when I see it. Now, the concerning part about that statement is at the moment, no one's advertising Andy or I at any NZISM Otago CPD Day. So are we suggesting here that you're the talent in the show? Is that what we're suggesting here?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but if everyone else is saying it, then what can I do?
Well, I don't know what you're paying that coach, but I tell you, keep paying them. Fantastic. Now, I mean, this is insane. I mean, it's great. Your publicity is just skyrocketing. So great to see, and I guess it's a friendly reminder that the three of us are open. Well, I should say Des and I are. If you engage with Andy, he's a consultant, right? So he's going to charge like a wounded bull to speak. But Des and I will do anything we can to get in front of an audience. And Andy will too. So great opportunity, Des. Look forward to tuning in on both the 9th and the 10th as you light up the stage, I think would be how we describe it, right? For the NZISM CPD Day down in Otago. And also the sign on site. It's going to be quite exciting times coming up. Really busy for us too, isn't it?
It's going to be good.
Fantastic. Awesome. Hey, Andy.
Your talk's going to last about 20 seconds.
Listen, all fools them, right? I mean, when they realise that they've selected the wrong one of the three of us, I'm sure they'll come crawling back. Andy.
Hi, I'm Des. Compliance on sites is good.
No, but Andy, he's engaged a professional speaking coach, so hopefully it's a bit more than that. Hey, Andy, mate, listen, I believe, I mean, this is what an opportunity. You're in the UK, and you're over there at the moment. who knows when you're coming back? Because I mean, I don't know what you're, like you're gallivanting around the world. I believe young Oliver's with you at the moment.
He is. Yeah, he is. He's on holiday.
Oh,
He's been having a great time.
for an intern, right? An international experience for an intern, an occupational health and safety advisor. I mean, I know he's on holiday, but really, safety never sleeps. Is he? How's he finding? How's he finding it over there in the UK? Any words of wisdom from him at this point?
He's become a little bit of a, I don't know, I don't want to use the word, but he's become a bit of an enforcement officer.
Wow, really?
We've been using public transport quite a lot, particularly
yes.
trains, and on many of the mainline stations, there's a yellow line that's probably 2 meters from the edge of the platform.
Oh, yes.
And he has been policing that incredibly thoroughly.
Wow.
To the point where you just go, ooh, he's not my son.
Now,
he takes it very seriously.
Now, often is the case in the world of a health and safety advisor, right? What side of the yellow line is he on when policing said?
He's on the absolutely correct side.
Oh wow, great!
But he's been quite strict with that rule enforcement.
Nice. Well, hey, listen, we've all got to go through our little journey. We've all got to, find our way and make mistakes from time to time, right? So, and that's the fine line that we walk in this game that we call safety. Now, Andy, I'm a little bit nervous. Usually, our co-host Des is incredibly organised, right? Usually, he tells us in advance. He gets feedback. He engages with us about his disclaimers. Now, I'm wondering whether he's taken this whole talking thing too seriously, spending money on this coach, exorbitant amounts of money. And if it's whether he's forgotten about his wee little disclaimer that I'm hoping he's got ready for us to go today.
Gentlemen, strap yourselves in.
Locked and loaded.
Here it goes. By continuing to listen to this podcast, you implicitly agree that all statements made herein are purely for the amusement of sentient beings, cryptids, and houseplants. We cannot be held responsible if you find yourself suddenly pondering the mysteries of the universe or developing a strong urge to challenge a squirrel to a staring contest. Should your worldview spontaneously shift or your goldfish begin quoting Nietzsche, we recommend consulting your local philosopher or snack enthusiast. Please proceed with caution. Things are about to get weird.
I think things just did.
Hey, Des, I think, that whole normal check-in with us first kind of concept. Let's maybe stick with that, eh? Let's stick with that. Look, you give this guy an inch, he's taken a frickin' mile, right? It's all gone to his head, really. It's all gone to his head. Hey, on that note, are we ready for the spinning wheel team? Are we ready to bring it up?
Yep.
Here we go.
Yep, let's spin the wheel.
Now, people, I just want to acknowledge here that I've been a bit lazy. I haven't actually done what I need to do. We're running out of things on the wheel, but never fear. We've got an army of topics behind us that I just need to actually put my A into G, right, and get it on the wheel. So, not a lot of options here. We're all excited about these. Here we go, team. Oh, look, Des is warming up. Here we go. Woo, there we go. The topic for today's show, TRFR, Ltifr. Well, this is going to be one interesting ride in terms of seeing how it goes. So I don't even know what those acronyms mean. So let's get into it. Des, you're the educated one, mate. Your initial thoughts, your shock, your horror. TRFR, Ltifr. It's been on the wheel for some time. Finally landed. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's one of those things that continuously prompts discussion and seems to persist in the safety industry. This idea that we need to measure the amount of injuries or accidents that we have, and that's going to tell us something valuable. And there's a lot of to and fro in public forums on whether there's any value in that. And there's been some interesting developments. But my understanding of what those words mean, LTIFR, that's lost time injury frequency rate, and TRIFR is total reportable injury frequency rate or incident frequency rate. And some organizations define lost time in different ways to others. And I believe there's a standard that defines it also, an international standard. Andy might be able to help us there, but that's where I'm at.
Well, and that's a show, team. Des has taken up all the speaking words. Wow. Mate, listen, I've got to commend you. This coach, you're going to need to start advertising them because and getting kickbacks because they've done a great job. Andy, your thoughts, mate? Trfir, Ltifr, it's landed. We're going to talk about it for 45 minutes. What are your thoughts, mate?
I like it.
It's good.
Oh my God. Okay. Because we've got a problem here. Being the uneducated one of the three, a little bit lost on how we're going to navigate this. I mean, we had another topic that we thought we might land on, but and I was prepared to navigate us through that. I don't quite know what I'm doing. So Andy, I mean, Des kind of outlined that there could be some kind of international standard. We know you like your definitions. So what are your thoughts on this in terms of definitions and sticking to how it should be done?
I think these terms get a lot of bad press, almost there's a degree of arrogance around it. You hear this in conversations. Oh, you're still reporting on them. Oh, you're still using them. This sort of tends to come from people that are way more enlightened than I am. I don't think there's anything wrong with these as measurements, as long as they're done accurately and used within context. I think any data is useful within the context that it's given. One of the problems with these is that there's huge scope, as within any data, to manipulate it to suit the needs of whoever wants the outcome to be whatever it is.
Wow, mate! Listen, I've just been scribbling some notes here. I'm trying to lift my game. I've taken inspiration from Des, and I'm scribbling notes to help engage and drive this conversation. So I'm going to come back to you on that. I mean, Des, what are your thoughts on what Andy's saying? I mean, he's chucked out some pretty big words there and some pretty big comments. I mean, are you on that same line of thinking? Do you think they get a bad rap? Do you think it's a measurement worth considering when looking at your health and safety management system and its effectiveness?
It has value, but it's an extremely limited value, and it needs to be expressed and understood mathematically accurately. And I've never seen it done so, and that's where it becomes so problematic. Statistics like that are, what am I trying to say? They need to be expressed properly. You need to account for randomness, and almost never that's almost never the case. And so therefore, the way they're expressed means that they kind of end up becoming meaningless.
Yeah, no, great insight. And I guess that's kind of where some interesting comments coming in here from Keith Harvey, long-time friend of the show. Morning, Keith. Good to see you. You're up and kicking. Some really, really interesting questions that Keith poses here. So what do these things actually measure, right? And who are they? And who are they for? And how are they applied? And I think that's kind of where you're going there, right? There's in that space, and I think often Andy talks about definitions, right? But this is more about context, isn't it? This comment here from Keith. I mean, would you agree, Des? It's really imperative to understand the context of the data and the numbers that you're trying to report on.
Yeah, it's something that we're persistently asked for whenever we're applying for new work. What's your LTIFR? What's your TRIFR? And I have to agree. What is it they really want to know from that information? Because there's probably a better way to find out. It certainly doesn't. If I'm using that statistic to report up to the board in our own organization, I really have to question what sort of value they're getting out of that. It's invariably a measure of the past. Maybe in some contexts, past performance is the best indicator you're going to get for future performance. But I think using it and extrapolating from that figure that you're safe or that you're becoming safer, that's really problematic and probably not a very clever way to use those statistics.
Wow. This topic's obviously struck a nerve, mate. We got a lot of comments coming in the chat. You can see Andy trying to read the comments, and they're not just one-liners either. These are like full freaking paragraphs coming coming in. Andy's obviously read something that he doesn't like. Andy, before you go down a dark place and a dark hole, because we can't come over and give you a hug. You're a little bit far away. I mean, what are your thoughts around ensuring that whatever, if you choose to use this, right? 'Cause at the end of the day, we're not gonna force anybody down a road. But if somebody chooses to use this, what are your thoughts around not necessarily the definitions of them? Because I think those are pretty locked in. What are your thoughts around ensuring that people understand the context of what they're being used to tell or for, in fact?
I think Matthew starts off making a really important point where he says, I think they are both a lazy way to gauge success. I would agree with that's how they're used. But I don't necessarily think getting the data, using it effectively is lazy. But I think that they're used at an executive level, a little bit like Leon talks about as well in his comment there. It's boards and executive like numbers. And if we've gone from a 2.6 to a 2.4, that's success. Now, our job as safety people is to educate them and say that actually that mightn't be right because there's all sorts of randomness. The population size is too small. There's no statistical significance, all this sort of stuff. But the bottom line is they just want a number because 2.6 is better than 2.8. And, this is part of the game that we play in safety. It touches on the dark arts, I guess, that we talked about earlier.
You told me to take that off the board. Now you're talking about it. Oh, yeah, honestly, you are flip-flopping like a flip-flop.
It's interesting because I'm a big fan that data is always useful. So it's how you use it because it's very easy to use it incorrectly, as Des indicated. And I'm not one of saying don't use Ltifr or TRIFRs or whatever. I think that they're useful if people are using them for the correct. If it's fit for purpose.
And I'm just gonna. I don't know if you're the right person to answer this, Andy. To be fair, well, I think you got a lot of value to add on this conversation. This is about the actual application of gathering the data, right? And because as a consultant, right, you work across a number of organisations and you provide guidance and advice and snake oil and all that other kind of good stuff, right? I mean, I guess one of the things that I have an issue with when it comes to LTFIR or TRIFR or any of the statistical stuff is. And it's not, you mentioned earlier on around the manipulation of data. I'm going to throw something else into the equation. It's the accuracy of the data, right? So, and I mean, are people reporting on it correctly? And in my line of work, and as is Des, we deal with a number of employees. That's easy to manage, right? We've got a number of stopgaps to ensure that we can capture that data. The biggest challenge that I think we face in the construction industry is capturing the data of your contractors or their subcontractors, and as that food chain progresses down. I mean, any thoughts on that around, is it so much about the manipulation of the data or just the inability to actually capture all that data in, say, a dynamic environment such as construction?
Is that to me?
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
As soon as you say construction, as soon as you say construction, I think of you two. Absolutely. Absolutely. Getting the information, it undermines the value of any numbers that you give. It's garbage in, garbage out.
Yep.
And if people are motivated by getting the TRIFR down, the easy way to get the TRIFR down is to not report accidents.
Yep. You say, and interesting comments there, not report accidents. I don't know if it's so much about not reporting accidents or whether it's just about ensuring that the right people are communicated once something occurs, right? And I think one of the challenges, and I'll be interested to get Des's thoughts shortly on this. You can see he's now paying attention. I said his name. One of the things I'd be interested to get is, especially if it happens, and if we just keep working with this dynamic industry type stuff, for example, be it forestry or be it construction or be it whatever, where a lot of contractors are used, it's then managing that data, right? It's about, they might have been reported, but has it been pushed upstream, right? Are we capturing? I mean, Des, what are your thoughts around capturing this data? I mean, in construction, I don't know about you, but I really struggle with ensuring that our contractors are reporting upstream to us, A, whether they had an incident to start with, or B, the severity of that, and whether it is actually a lost time injury or the like,
Yeah, we seem to spend a lot of time agonizing over what type of injury and how to classify it. And I think is this all in an attempt to see if there's a trend? We're trending upwards, we're trending down.
Yeah, good question, right?
Because if that's the case, then let's take a real world example. Like in a company that I work in, we might have an LTI at one of our sites in the north. An LTI, that might be a back injury, for instance. Another one where someone's cut their arm in the south, an LTI also, and another one where someone's, received an electric shock. And all three of those are LTIs. Is that a trend? Are all of those closely related enough for us to be able to say that we have a trend? Because I don't think so. That's not a trend.
Well,
there's no relationship between those three things.
Well, there is, because all those have led to people losing time. That's your denominator. So all that you're doing with the lost time injury frequency rate is, forget about accidents. All you're doing is looking at how many people have lost time for injuries. That's it. People then use that to interpret that they're doing safety better, but it's not. It's a lost time injury frequency rate.
So I'm gonna pull up on what you're saying there, Andy, and I think and where I'm going with this conversation, and again I'll just pull back to Des on this before I come back to you, Andy. So yes, so Des has just identified 3 lost time injuries, right? I mean, one of the other challenges, Des, I guess that becomes really interesting, because to work out your LTFIR or your total injury, I can't even remember what the acronyms are now. Bloody tongue twisters. You also need man hours, right? You need number of hours worked. Now, I mean, realistically, how can you accurately determine, and where do you start and where do you stop when you start looking at number of hours worked, right? I mean, especially when you're engaging with contractors, are you just using your employees' hours worked? Are you using contractors' hours worked? And if you are using contractors' hours worked, how are you actually accurately capturing those hours? I'd be interested to get your thoughts on that.
Is that for me?
Des, you.
Yeah,
you, Des. Yep.
I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that there is no clear answer, and what I tell our people, I say, don't place too much emphasis on the numbers, because they don't have a lot of meaning anyway. But if we are going to use this measure, it's never going to be 100% accurate, but at least if we measure it consistently the same way from month to month, then we might be able to get some value out of it. So it's not going to be accurate, but just so long as it's consistently inaccurate, it might still be able to yield some value. Does that make sense?
Never a truer said.
Absolutely.
What I took away from that, if you're doing it well or doing it badly, be consistent. Love it, and that's a great thing. And I guess so, Andy, I want to shoot back up to you. So, Andy, could you raise your hand, please? Okay, great. We've got the right person. What I guess I'm challenging is it's the frequency rate aspect of lost time injuries. Maybe that's struggling to identify the trend, right? So as you pointed out, yes, Des has had 3 lost time injuries. Yes, Des has had 3 injuries that have effectively resulted in workers losing time. There's the trend. But is that just as simple as reporting on lost time injuries versus trying to calculate a frequency rate? The fact that he had 3 lost time injuries versus going 3 lost time injuries, what's it, divided by the number of hours worked times by either 250,000 or 1 million. Again, inconsistencies there in the approach you take. Is it as simple as just reporting on the lost time injuries, or do you think the frequency rate adds value to reporting on that data?
The frequency rate adds further context if it's accurate.
Yep.
So, then you can, in theory, you can then compare to other organisations, other entities. Because if you've only done 10 hours work and you've had 15 accidents, yet someone else has had 15 accidents and done 1,000 hours work, you've got to have that hour base in there to give it any context. But it's another opportunity for it to be inaccurate. But I think, as Dave Bradley there said, is that you should be able to work out your contractor's billable hours, because if one thing contractors are good at, it's getting the billable hours in.
And that's great. And Dave, welcome to the show. I think this might be the first time I've seen you publish a comment, so great to have you on board. And he's absolutely correct, right? The challenge that I think we get with that is, and this is why my belief is we should abolish health and safety, right? Is because what happens is we wait, come on, let's be fair. Let's just get rid of it. I know you'll be out of a job, but I'm sure I can find some employment for you, right? But the challenge with what Dave is saying there is so often our systems are not connected. So our financial data and the billable hours that we receive from our contractor sits over here in finance or the commercial team, right? Versus the injury data, which sits over here. And often the two datas shall not collide because I don't know why. Maybe that people haven't worked out how to talk through systems, or because we're using independent systems, X, Y, Z. So in theory, yeah, it's great. Right? You can get billable hours if that's how it's coming through to you, and you could get your contractors to do that, and your administrators to punch that data in like that. But I think the concept is simple. The practical application is not, because we generally operate in two worlds. Well, this is great. Absolutely loving this conversation. Although I'm all out of questions. Nah, I'm not. So I think some realistic questions there. Again, I think so. What I'm taking away is it's all about context, right? And it's not about necessarily whether the data is right, wrong, or otherwise, but as these put it, is consistent. And again, just want to start touching on that contextualization aspect of it. So do we think potentially something like this, like capturing these frequency rates, is maybe better suited to a more static type industry where it's maybe, say, a factory type environment where you tracking hours in, tracking hours out, your contractor base is a bit lower, you've got more control over that data? Des, I mean, your thoughts?
Geez, I haven't considered that. Maybe there is a whole element to this that we haven't really talked about, which is how you express the data.
Yep.
Which adds just another layer of sort of problems to using these as measures of safety, or measures of anything for that matter. But statistically, and I'm not a mathematician, so I'm probably going to butcher this explanation, so I apologize in advance. But statistically,
it wouldn't be the first time.
Thank you. Statistically, measures like this need to be expressed as a range.
Yes.
And in order to express things as a range, you need to account for randomness with the use of a confidence interval. So your correct expression of a statistic like this is saying that we think our LTI frequency rate, we're 95% sure that it falls between 2.27 and 4.48. Or something to that effect. And that's how you would correctly express this data statistically.
Andy, I saw you nodding. I'm lost, mate. Do you agree or disagree with what Des is saying?
Yeah, I think from a statistical point of view, I think this is absolutely spot on.
This is why you should stay in school, kids. This is important, apparently.
I would go back to the point of that these guidelines are mainly used to explain things at an executive level, to say we're doing better because 2.6 is better than 2.8. They don't care if it's 98, 95% confidence in that or whatever. They just want a number. And the number of times that I've had these conversations with executives and boards and tried to explain other aspects of safety and what it actually means, but all that they want is a number.
It's something tangible, right? Something to hold on to, something to see, something to visibly touch and look at, right?
In situations like this, I always picture myself justifying my actions in front of a judge and using that as some sort of defense in the event of a workplace fatality. I can just imagine being questioned. Oh, yes, Your Honour. Yeah, we killed 3 people at work, but look at our LTIFR. That went down 3 percentage points or 3 points over the last 3 months. So, can we tender that as our defence, please? It's like that's not going to fly.
But wasn't that what happened? Wasn't that what happened with the BP thing in the Gulf of Mexico?
That was a finding, I believe, from the investigation, is that the senior executives were visiting the oil platform to celebrate the best lost time injury frequency rate they'd had, or no lost time injuries for a certain period, and then that afternoon the rig blew up.
I'm
Something like that.
not sure how I feel about this comment. Derek kind of promoting other podcasts while listening to ours.
No, to be fair,
don't
that's
read
where
it
I got
out.
it from. So I think it's episode 55, if I'm not mistaken, and it's good. They explain it very well.
Oh, well, great. Oh, yeah, well, there you go. Maybe we could get Drew Ray on, as a bonus episode. There we go, Des, no pressure. Can you get hold of Drew Ray and tell him we'd love to do a bonus episode with him next week to maybe discuss this? I'm just going to come back to something you touched on, Des, and it's more of a question, and I don't know if we're going to get the answer to this, to be fair, but like you said, often, and particularly, I guess, in a contracting environment, not even necessarily a construction environment, but any kind of contracting environment, often we're asked to present this data as part of some kind of tender evaluation or pre-qualification or whatever it is. What are your thoughts? It's not your first rodeo. You've been around a little while. What are your thoughts on what do you think people are actually doing with that information? So we put down a number, I don't know, 5 even. They see that. What do you think that they're actually doing with that?
I don't know. I normally assume that if I'm being asked that, the person's given it absolutely no thought at the other end. So I just answer it, and typically that's as far as it goes. I don't get questioned on it. I think people just ask it because they feel that they need to ask it.
Well, one of my mantras is managing safety by flipping coins, right? Because often you're going to make a decision. It's going to be the wrong decision either way. That's my thought, right? You're going to make a decision. It's going to be wrong. What about if we introduced a new concept of determining my LTFIR by playing darts? So when somebody asks that question, literally walk out to a dartboard, throw the dart, and whatever it lands on is the number you put down in your pre-qualification or your tender bid. Because, I mean, if they're not doing anything with it, why are they asking for it?
Yeah, I want to go back to that confidence interval thing, and I know it's potentially going to bore everyone to tears. Brent, how are you going for coffee? You all right?
Oh, yeah. So I'll just leave, and when you finish, let me know. I'll come back.
It's why are you asking him? It's nearly 10 o'clock at night here. I'm halfway there anyway.
To give a confidence interval of 95%, I think it's 1.96. You've got to factor in. So if your injury frequency rate, whatever it is, LTI, TRIFR, if it's 1.7, you've got to subtract, and I might be butchering this, you need to subtract 1.96 from that and add 1.96 from that on both sides of that number to give you your range to 95% confidence.
Okay, and
so you're simultaneously, you have to state, if you're 1.7, you have to state that you're 95% sure that you're between 0 and 1.7 plus 1.96, was that 3 point something?
Okay, I think you just explained this for dummies. So would I be correct then in saying if you are only 50% confident in your data, the number either side would be larger, right?
Yes.
And well, you just explained some mathematical theories to me, mate. That's awesome. I love it. Thank you.
But the problem I've got with that is that you'll get construction companies will potentially, like I saw this happen several years ago. They came together and let's everyone share our frequency rates, and the ranges were between I think the best performing contractors were something below 1. The worst performing contractors were around about the 3.2 mark. And so I thought, well, ours is 1.7. So we're simultaneously, if we express this correctly as a statistic, we are simultaneously the best performing contractor and the worst performing contractor out of this group, because our confidence interval range is between the best contractor and the worst contractor.
No. That's not how it works, though, Des. Because you have to apply that.
I think that sums it up really. You lost me on that one, mate.
Else.
Say again, sorry, Andy.
But you'd have to apply the same thinking to everybody else as well.
You would, but we're all mostly in the same range. So what meaning could you derive from those numbers now?
Well, it's all an average, though, isn't it? I mean, that's what you end up doing, is you end up averaging it.
That's what I'm saying. It's expressing it correctly.
You take the
take more meaning out of it.
Oh, absolutely. But the question goes back to who would take the meaning out of it? Who cares?
That's where I was going with this. Right at the end of the day, who the
No
hell
one
actually?
cares.
Apart from if you are the statistic, right? If you are one of those people that's made up that number or that
Oh,
range,
absolutely.
you care
Absolutely.
clearly, right? And again, so then going back to there's been a term banter, and I think it's by Mike Crystal Agus from Canada. First principles, right? At the end of the day, do we care about the frequency rate or the mathematical equations, or if we pull it back to first principles? Is it not more about the individuals that actually were hurt that made up that data? And so are we getting lost in the whole equation aspect of it? Not even the dark arts, the bullshit arts. Sorry, and it's about the people, right? And so are we detracting ourselves from that concept? Well, sorry, I've just got so caught up in that. I got a bit lost. So Andy, as a consultant, like you're advising clients, and I guess as we start to wrap up the show, because I think again, but what I'm hearing is hopefully somebody knows Drew Ray, and hopefully he's okay to come on the show and talk to us, because I think we need somebody to kind of help us out with this. But Andy, as we start to wrap the show, I mean, if as a consultant, if one of your clients comes to you and says, Andy, listen, I've got this great idea, I want to use TRFR as a measure of safety success with our contractors, what are you going to say to them?
So that it's probably not going to do what they want it to. But if they want a number, do it.
There's
no. I'll just to continue that a little bit about it. Is that we're it's a useful tool, but it's only useful in the context that it's intended to. The problem isn't with TRIFRs and LTFRs. The problem is the understanding of what they mean and what they are giving you information on. Like I said before, the lost time one is giving you information on how many people have lost time. And if doing that, it's fine. But that does not necessarily correlate across that you're doing safety really well.
So contextualizing what you're trying to get out of the data, right?
Yeah, you've got to be quite harsh with it, and it's quite pure. You can't interpret it to mean one thing. It does not say if your LTIFR or whatever has gone down, that is not saying that in the last month your workplace is safer.
No, because you could have had more hours introduced, right?
Absolutely, and that's what people want it to do. But I don't think there's a magic number that can do that. So in the absence of a magic number, people just want a number. And this does. It really does.
I think this goes back
absolutely rampant out there.
But does this go back to kind of alluding to what Matthew Zagrove was saying about laziness, right? I mean, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, because we know that my education level was nowhere near the two of you, but it's easier to manage and understand quantitative data versus qualitative data, right? So it's easier to grab a number than actually look at the narrative and the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Des, as we wrap up, are you going to go back to work and start asking people? Start off asking people for their TRFR LTFI as part of your contractor management program?
I've never asked it of anyone, and the only reason I record it in any given circumstances because I might get asked by someone else.
Fantastic.
That's the only value that I derive from that. I really struggle to see any meaningful value that can come from measuring that, even if it's measured in the best possible way and expressed in the best possible way. I really don't see what I'm getting from it.
Fantastic. Hey, listen, I don't know, did you quote episode 55?
I did, yeah.
You did? There you go. Spot on. You educated person, you.
That was based on an academic paper they did, which I can probably post in the comments a link to.
Yeah, that'd be great. But again, what's fascinating me, and this is just maybe my marketing brain kicking in, right? They're actually posing the same question. They're not actually giving you the answer. So hopefully, if you listen to episode 55 of the Safety of Work podcast and or read their paper, you'll maybe get some educated answers out of the same sort of question that we're effectively asking here, right? Well, gentlemen, listen, I think, again, this is one of those topics, right, that we could keep going, right? We could argue it either way all day long. But I think that's us coming to an end. And I really hope that somebody out there somewhere has taken away that this concept we're talking about really, and I think we can probably summarize it in one word, right? And I think we'd all agree on this. So if I've misinterpreted what you've been saying, please let me know. But it's all about context. So the key word to summarize this conversation is context, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Nice. Well,
Very good.
there we go, team. Another phenomenal episode of the Circus of Safety. Now, there's mate, next couple of weeks. What are you up to, mate? Got anything exciting happening on the horizon?
Apart from those 2 talks, not much. I think I've got some more study and some more work, and that's life.
Oh, whoa. The high flying life of a international speaker, right? That's hard work. I'll keep you grounded though, mate. Don't worry about that. Andy, what about you, mate? You going to be in the UK for the next couple of weeks still, bud?
Yep, a couple more weeks, maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, got work to do though, so working early mornings, late evenings.
Welcome to our life, mate. Welcome to our life.
How's the project gone? Is it all wrapped up now?
Mate, I just want to say, hate the game, not the player. Yeah, the project went really well. It depends on. And again, this comes back to a phenomenal conversation, right? And I really want to. I need to write this down. When we're looking at things like a project in a construction environment, so I'm trying to multitask, write down and talk. Really struggling with that concept. It all comes back down to how do you measure success, right? So from a construction, from a main contractor point of view, we can argue it was a success. From a client point of view, we can argue it was a success. From an individual personal point of view, mate, I got a pair of Tommy Hilfingers for $40. It was a success. From a local community user group point of view, you could argue it wasn't, based on the number of articles flying through the New Zealand Herald at the moment regarding the disruption to traffic. Which
I was doing an airport run that day, so no, not a success. But I'm glad you got your Tommy Hilfigers.
And I'm heading out to the airport this afternoon. So again, that measure of success could swing the other way when it takes me 2 hours to drop my son off at the airport. But no, thanks for asking, Andy. And I think I'm going to have a bit of free time on my hands now, and I can actually get into focusing on some project work and moving our safety strategy forward. But yeah, listen, really, I want to just jump on and thank the audience. We're still growing in numbers, which is great. Clearly, we haven't offended anybody. I mean, one day we may and lose everybody, but that's until then. Let's keep riding the wave, eh? So, a couple of things from me. Karen Martin, welcome to the whānau. Sorry that you've only just joined us now, but hopefully our media team can get onto marketing us a bit better going forward. Karen, interesting role. I'm really fascinated. I'd love to bump into Karen one day and have a chat. The Wellbeing, Health and Safety Lead at the Ruhupeu District Council. So, Owakuni, Des. This is
yeah.
That's in your hood. Did you bump into Karen while you were down there? I know you like to frequent the big carrot.
Must have missed her that time, unfortunately, but I'll keep an eye out.
Well, mate, that would suggest maybe next time you're on holiday, wear your high vis around and you might attract other safety professionals. You all right there, Andy?
Yeah, sorry. Just reminded me of something.
Karen comes with a wealth of experience, currently the Wellbeing, Health and Safety Lead at the Ruhupeu District Council, but also a Safe Plus assessor. So that's doing her bit for the industry. So welcome, Karen, and love to hear you in the comments and get some of your feedback. Again, just another quick plug for Desai Link. Strengthening Safety is the name of his topic. Diving in to support the team down in Otago with the NZISM Otago CPD Day. So that's definitely something. I don't know if that's going to be live streamed or whether it's a live audience only. So that'll be a good one. And then jumping on and helping our mates at Sign On Site. Des will be dialing in. It's a live webinar series, 60 minutes. Well, good luck with that, Des. Keep working with that coach with Sign On Site.
60 minutes.
60 minutes live. No pressure, Des. I'll be tuning in and asking a bunch of questions. So we've got here the time is the 10th of October, 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, which makes it what here, Des? About 3 or something in the afternoon?
About 3, which is about my afternoon nap time. So that'll be a challenge.
That'll be great. Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe we should, Andy, can you reach out to our mates at Sign On Site and suggest maybe to pull it forward a little bit? So no doubt going to be a cracker, so really important. Last thing from me as we wrap up the show, if you're following our page, you would have just seen a poll pop up. We are in the stages of, I wouldn't even say final stages because let's be fair, we don't really plan anything. We're in the discovery stages of pulling together another symposium, which we ran 12 months ago. Sorry to keep you up, Andy. Incredibly successful symposium. So we've just put a poll out to see if you would be interested in a symposium. And I guess once we get the results from that poll, we'll also see where the results came from. And maybe if your town or suburb or area features highly, maybe we could take this roadshow literally on the road. So that's us, team. Great show, I thought. Fantastic, as always, to spend time with you. Any parting words of wisdom from you, Andy?
Yeah, can I go to bed now?
Sure can, mate. Des?
Cheers, mate.
I think Andy summed it up. Let's go to bed. I'm done. Nap time.
Well, that's a show. Take care, everyone, and see you next time.
See ya.